Okay, we're back to round out the trilogy as we dive deeper into the Cowabunga Summer. We're diving headfirst into the final outing for this era, I should say. I was gonna say like the final live action Turtles. I guess like the last practical suit where they like straight up made a turtle and didn't CG over it. But it's not the last live action movie. Look, it's Ninja Turtles 3, the third Ninja Turtle movie. Some box art says Turtle in Time. That's not the name of the movie though. It's just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. We have less money, but somehow we go to bigger extremes. And this is the bad one. Look, okay, it's kind of been like a series of escalating disasters. The first one, we did the Frank Miller parody. We talked about that a bunch. Second one was a cartoon. Third one, what if we did something different? What if we made a bad movie? Look, I can't defend this movie. I'm not going to sit here and try to defend it to you. It's an appalling script. It's a lackluster outing for anything Ninja Turtles in the slightest, and I struggle to stay interested in what's going on. This more than any other one we've talked about, I looked at my phone a bit because I'm like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, they're doing the thing. Yeah, the jokes aren't funny. It feels like it's referencing itself in the worst way possible, where it stops actually making new jokes and feels like a joke they would have made for the other movies. It's a bad movie. First off, Jim Henson's company is not involved in this one. We have a different company building the puppeteering and animatronics, and it's noticeable because the mouths don't move properly. Now, I have no shade against this company. I'm sure they've done fine work before, or maybe they haven't. I'm not researching a stupid company that didn't do a good job here, but it's bad. The dubbing is bad. It doesn't feel like they're actually talking. Their mouths are just kind of going yeah, and they're saying words with it. There is no emotion. When they are doing wide shots, the mouths don't even move. The more we can go without them using their mouths to move, the better we do. So there's going to be a lot of shots where their face isn't in frame and they're talking in a terrible dub. It does not work well, and it looks noticeably bad, and the colors for the actual design of the turtles are bad. They are the most egregious part of this film, in my opinion. They're too bright. The spots on them are too noticeable. It looks too fake. And I'm saying, like, the previous ones were like these genius godsends of artwork. They were better. They looked better. They looked more fluid. Less like a shitty design of a creature just existing. Don't know how they messed it up like that. But they did. And it looked bad. So here's the premise of this movie. Are you excited for this? Because it's not that interesting. It's 1603. Japan is in the feudal era, and they're, trading and doing like some merchant stuff with the English. So if you needed them to speak English, we just found a reason to do so. It's insane how like the guys from the 1600s know English, and Donatello goes like, yeah, because they trade with the English, so we don't have to like fake an accent or pretend they don't know English. We can just have everybody speaking English. It's lazy and bad, but this guy Kenshin, he's like interested in like this girl Mitsu, but his daddy's kind of a prick. Or is it his daddy? I think Nuranaga is his daddy. I don't remember. Do you care about that part of the movie? Cuz I don't. But he finds like a magical staff, and it's like the same one that April just finds for Splinter, which that sucks. Okay, I get it. Coincidence, whatever, but Paige Turco's back, doing fine. She's in a lot more of this movie than I ever remembered, but she shows up, and she's like, hey, I went on vacation. I got you guys some presents. Here's a radio for Donatello. Here's like a lamp for Michael, like the top part of a lamp for Michelangelo. And I bought this weird like staff watch clock thing for Splinter. It's like a lamp, but it's not really anything. And the turtles are like kind of holding. No, what happens the first time is that April's holding it, and then in like the past, Kenshin's holding it. It starts to glow, and then they swap places in time, wearing each other's clothes. And then the turtles have to go back in time to get April. It's like, fine. I guess that's fine. Does this movie work without like the April being the damsel thing? Yeah, because she doesn't even become the damsel. It just feels like we need like some good actor to show up and do something in here. Speaking of good actors showing up and doing something in here, Elias Coates is back as Casey Jones, returning from the original movie. He shows up ready to like kick ass and take names, but they're like, "Can you just watch our dad while we go do something?" So when they disappear into the lamp, it brings forward some what they were assuming were going to be like guards of like the temple, but it's just like warriors. And then sporadically throughout the movie, Casey has like a subplot where he teaches these guys like American stuff, like TV and hockey. And it's the best part of the movie, honestly. Like Elias shows up and it's just like, okay, an actor's here. You know, a hot guy who clearly wasn't as committed as he should be. He shows up and does something. But the weirder part is, too, he plays two roles because he's Whit. He's Whit. Whit is a guy in the 1600s who's like a thief, and he gets captured, and it's a terrible plot. A terrible plot where April thinks it's Casey because he looks like him. And at no point does he ever like swap places with Casey and we think like there's a different guy there. It's just Elias with like a different beard and shorter hair. And you're like, man, yeah, when you don't have like the Casey hair on, you are still very attractive. Like, what a useless thing. Can we just not afford another actor when we wanted like Elias in this movie more? Then like send Casey back. Like, what are we doing, you know? Like, if we want him there so bad, send him back. You could do the same plot with him in the place of Whit. And then, yeah, it's the Turtles in feudal Japan. Like, you've seen it in the comic books, presented better. It's from the comic books, but, like, done in a more mature way, in a better setting. And, you know, it's just kind of like they're goofy. Michelangelo, like, heads off in the wrong direction, and he winds up with, like, the Rebel Alliance, which is Mitsu and her people, and they just kind of just, like, goof about for a bit. So the other three turtles, they go to rescue April from a thing, and there's some fights, and it just doesn't look good. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. The weirdest part about this movie is that, like, if you were just looking at it, like, artistically, you'd think this one has, like, a bigger budget than it does, because we're in actual, like, you know, sets. Like, we build sets. Like, here's the set for the dungeon. Here's the set for, like, this camp. Like, we're in real locations sometimes, too, but it's like we're also, like, building these sets, and we have, like, these big productions. Everyone's in, like, old school feudal Japan clothes, like samurai era stuff, and, like, those type of costumes. They all have weapons. They all have, like, big stuff. We light a bunch of stuff on fire. So you'd think it'd be a better movie because we have those things going on. But it's not. And like, the worst part about this movie is that I don't even think it's like shit. I just think it has a really bad script that allows too much for just like bullshit to happen. Like, okay, we have to reference that they speak English because they deal with white people. And it's like, yeah, April just happens to find this thing. The time travel is iffy. It doesn't really matter. They have like a certain amount of time because Kenshin says they have to do it in like 60 hours. None of it makes any sense, really. We have to take down Nobunaga because he's evil, and when we defeat him, Mitsu and Kenshin can take over, and things will be better. Okay, like, fine. You know, like that's what we're doing here. I can't complain about that. Like, sure, I've seen worse movies do it. I've seen better ones do it. There are some stuff I do like in that stuff. I do like the arc that Raphael has where he's talking to little baby Yoshi, and the kid's kind of angry, and Raph's like, you gotta control your temper, and he's like, boy, is that coming from me because I'm Raphael? Crazy. And like, yeah, that's fun. And he learns a lesson to like care about someone other than himself, and like, you know, maybe because look, the movie doesn't explore this, but it could be like he's still a teenager who was radicalized into fighting ninjas, that he doesn't want this kid to grow up in the same setting, but it's just more like, geez, I have to have a relationship with this kid, and it's a relationship, and it works well. Michelangelo also has like a relationship with Mitsu where he's like, this is a woman who's accepting of me and understands that though I look like a demon, I am helping her and her people, and I kind of want to stay here in like this timeline where I can be accepted and maybe bang this chick. Look, okay. It's weird because we've pretty much avoided it. Like, we've had a couple of jokes in the first movie where Michelangelo kisses the screen when April's on. He's like, I'm in love. But we have two distinctive things happening in this movie. Michelangelo has the hots for Mitsu. He's looking at this girl. She's badass. And he's just like, yes. If we do not get Kenshin back, maybe Mikey could slide into there a little bit. And the other thing is we literally we stop the movie for a minute and have April rip the bottom part of her dress off and show off her nice legs for the turtles to do a swing reference. Like, wow. And she's just like, oh, you crazy kids, knock it off. I'm like, that's really weird. And okay. Okay, let's go on this tangent for a minute because I don't have anything else to say about this movie. There is something, I was going to say there's something to explore. There is always an interpretation where a Ninja Turtle is attracted to April. The rumors are for Mutant Mayhem that it's going to be Leonardo attracted to April. In the 2012 cartoon, it was Donatello, kind of like Michelangelo in like the 80s one. They had like a thing there, and you see like that Oprah interview for the Coming Out of Our Shells tour where it's like, we've been trying to talk April into like an interspecies relationship forever. So I just don't get that. Like, can't we just get Mona Lisa? Is it Mona Lisa? Yeah. Mona Lisa's like the salamander that Raph is interested in. Like, couldn't we just do that a little bit more? Not have it be like, here's a human that might want to this turtle? Because it's weird. But hey, Paige Turco shows off her legs. There's a swing reference. Should I complain? I'm going to. Because it's very weird. And yeah, then it's just like, okay, we fight here. And then Niranaga, burns down Mitsu's village. And Michelangelo has to go in and save the kid. And you're like, that's great. There's also, aside from Wit just being a white guy, there's a couple other white guys because you have... Is his name Stuart? Yeah, you just have a white guy who's like, I could give you guns to kill these and that's what he does. So he gives Niranaga guns so he can win his war. And it's like, that's not honorable. And then they lose in the end. And the turtles go home. But Michelangelo doesn't come back with them in time because he wants to stay. What a weird way to end this trilogy with half of your turtles being like, why would we ever go back home? It sucks there. Nobody likes us. Everything's garbage. Mikey's like, I can stay, maybe boink this girl, Raph can hang out with this kid, but Donatello's like, if you think for a minute I want to stay in this place where there's not a microchip, you're out of your mind. But they all go home at the end, and Michelangelo's kind of sad, so they just dance and they play it off, and movie ends there. And okay, look, the action is not as good as the first two, it's not as cartoonish as the second one. But it's we're on big sets and we're in an actual castle location and we're having a bunch of extras come in and they're fighting in this stuff and we're falling off of buildings and we're lighting stuff on fire and there's a huger scope and scale to things here. And that's kind of impressive. But at the same time, this is a bad script. And the directing, there's actually some really interesting shots and long takes that happen in there that I think is kind of interesting. But it is the worst one. It doesn't have any redeeming qualities, really. And I just kind of killed the franchise for a bit, we just look worse. Everything's boringer. Nobody feels like they really want to be here. Even Corey Feldman returns, but it's does he want to do this, though? He wanted more money. They didn't give him more money. And at the end of the day, I guess feudal Japan won. What I don't understand, I think one of my biggest grievances is, there's a scroll that depicts the turtles that exists before the turtles show up. Wouldn't it make more sense if they find that scroll in the present day depicting them from their appearance back then, and then that becomes a thing that April finds to bring them there? So if, one of the presents she brought to them at the beginning was I found this, ancient scroll that, depicts guys that look like you. And then they go back in time and become that thing. But they were predetermined to already appear in that time period to do this one thing to help these people in that time. It's not that interesting. Nobody's really having fun and it's a bad movie. But is it the worst? It's a solid middle movie for me. I don't know if it's going to get any worse, but it's only going to get better, I guess. I don't know. Strange movie. Oof. I do like when they put a samurai suit on the turtles. That's kind of fun. But hey, that's going to wrap up this trilogy of the turtle stuff. Return next week when we talk about arguably the best one. Until then, thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.